Hey everybody, this is James from the James Barker Band, and you're listening to Music Row.
Welcome to Music Row, a backstage pass to your favorite country artists. Here's your host, Leake.
Hey, thanks for joining us on Music Row. Good program for you today. In fact, let's go out and say great program for you today. James Barker joins us from the James Barker Band. We get into the new album, we get into some touring, we get into all kinds of stuff with James Barker. You're definitely going to want to stick around for that. Some news prior to. Congratulations, Bailey Zimmerman just celebrated his 5th number 1 hit. Backup Plan, it features Luke Combs. It went to number 1 at country radio. And to celebrate, Bailey goes out and gets a steak and a chocolate milk. It would make me puke, but I guess he's okay with it. Megan Moroney made history at the MTV Video Music Awards as she picked up the first ever Best Country Award. Congratulations. And Jason Aldean had some praise for both Chris Stapleton and Morgan Wallen. He said Stapleton is the best male vocalist right now. Tough to argue that. And says that Morgan Wallen is a global star pushing the genre forward. Go check out Morgan Wallen on his gigantic stadium tour that he's doing right now. That's pretty cool. Coming up, James Barker Band on Music Row.
Wherever there's a heartbeat and a stage, there's an artist set to perform. This is Music Row on Tour.
Brought to you by the Pecan Agency, connecting bands with fans worldwide. Go check out Keith Urban as he continues on the High and Alive World Tour. October 2nd at Giant Center in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And October 9, it's Fort Worth, Texas, who gets some Keith Urban love. James Barker Band's Bud Light Buckle Up Tour goes right through October. October 22nd, you can find them in Burlington, Ontario. And on the 25th, they'll be playing in Milton, Ontario. And Thomas Rhett's Better in Boots Tour continues October 3 in Tampa, Florida. And October 10 in Indianapolis, Indiana. Coming up on Music Row, James Barker from the James Barker Band.
Hi, my name is Kim Stockwood. I am a proud Newfoundlander and a Canadian singer-songwriter. In a landscape where many lack access to health benefits or employee assistance programs, the Unison Fund serves as a lifeline of hope for musicians and music industry professionals facing medical emergencies or mental health challenges. To learn more about Unison and their programs, please visit unisonfund.ca.
This is James from James Barker Band, and you're listening to Music Row with Leake. You. Does it just go all the way past it? I like how they don't put any labels on it.
I got an idea. Let's not worry about it. No one really sees the lights in a podcast, as far as I understand.
Yeah, you're right. James
James Barker Band. There's more music. You finally got to release the sophomore album. You've been waiting at least an album.
Yeah, we at least one album waiting. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's been a minute. So
that's got to feel awesome that it's finally there, because you've been working on this probably for 2.5 years.
Yeah,
in and around the back end of it and all that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the songs on here are like over 2 years old. It's weird, you know. It's not like when we were writing some of these songs, we were thinking about them being on an album per se, but you know, we're always writing, and you're always like, okay, when's the song going to come out? And so crazy to think some of them are written like 2 days before we had to have them submitted, and some of them are written, you know, 2.5 years ago.
Was there any songs that you wrote 2.5 years ago for One of Us that you thought this is going to be on the next album for sure, and then all of a sudden 2.5 years goes by, you've written a whole bunch more, and one of those early songs is now gone?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's crazy how, because, you know, we're always writing how, you know, whenever you write a song, you know, you look back at it the next day and you're like, oh, that's awesome. That's got to be the thing. And then you write another one and it beats it, and you write another one and it beats it. Or, you know, you find that something that you thought was special about the song maybe isn't as special as you thought it was. And so there was definitely a lot of that. And we were right down to the wire, because we had like probably 150, 200 songs we had to pick through.
Why?
Yeah, just because we write so much.
Why?
Yeah, honestly, because we can't not, I guess.
Because I know of a band who says, no, we're going to write 12 songs.
Yeah.
And that is going to be the next album. And they don't write 13. They don't write 11.
Yeah.
They write 12 songs. 150 songs.
Yeah.
Now, do you have these all loosely recorded somewhere?
Yeah, like different variations of like different levels of recordedness. So like some of them are just literally like work tapes on my phone or something, and some of them are like close to full production demos.
So what is the filter for the work tapes? How does that get into a full production thing? Do you have to listen to it 8 times after you've recorded it at that late night session? Because I always think that it's got to be a next day thing. Because in the moment you think it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Then the next day you turn it back on. You're like, oh, did we really do that?
Yeah, you definitely need some separation from it. I mean, like sometimes it's good to step away from a song for like a week or 2 weeks or even longer and come back, and because then you're going to hear it kind of. Well, I mean, with fresh ears, you might hear it almost like you've never heard it before a little bit. If you can just like take it out of your brain for a week or two, and then but also like sometimes you just know you've got it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you know you've got a smash on your hands.
Has James Barker written a song saying, this song is, we love it, and then 2 days later goes, this song isn't timeless enough. This song is going to date itself real fast, and it's like, damn it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's crazy how often that does happen because we write so much where maybe to my detriment, I like to do things in the room and be like, let's just try it and see if it works. You know what I mean? And you have to have the ability to then, look at it. If you want to try crazy stuff, you have to have the ability then to recognize that it's not the right thing after the fact. And I think that that's how you get the best music. We try to like sonically push the boundaries on some of our stuff. And so because of that, you will run into that where you're like, we took a swing and we missed. You know what I mean?
So because it's the sophomore album, there's a different approach to writing. And
Yeah.
Clearly your approach is to write 150 songs and then try to pare it down. Did you think it was easier for the sophomore album because you have all this experience now? Or was it like, because you have all this experience, it makes it more difficult because you're overthinking things?
I know. I would say, I don't even know if easier is the way I would describe it, but we just know what we're doing more. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't mean it was less work, but it was maybe more, we understood more what we were going for. Do you know what I mean? Like now when I write, I'm writing a James Barker band song that I want to like feel this way or like give this sort of a vibe or be through the lens of like the guy that I am. Whereas like when you're early on, it is easy to do what you're saying, where it's easy to overanalyze, and you have to almost like get past that stage of overanalyzing to realize that you got to stop analyzing everything to understand it and then just do what you do.
Do you have like an outside filter from the band to kind of look at some of the music that isn't a label, like an independent third party buddy who works on a farm who can listen to some stuff? Because again, you want his opinion probably just as much as you want your management's opinion.
Yeah, we all of us in the band do that with like multiple people, not specifically one person. Like we all show our spouses, we all send it to our friends, we all show our parents. Like my parents, my dad will always be like, do we need me to call up the manager and tell him that this is the number one song or whatever? Like he'll call me and tell me stuff like that. But I do think that one, you need to do that to try and remove yourself from the songs, and you need to show it to people who are going to give you the honest opinion, because it's really easy as an artist to surround yourself with people who are just going to agree with everything you say. And
Bunch
you need
of
someone,
yes men.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to have someone out there that will be like, I don't know if this is you. And you also need to have the confidence to disagree with them if you think they're wrong. You know what I mean? So if someone's like, I don't like this, I don't think it's a song for you, you have to be able to be like, well, maybe you're wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing because you listen to music and you see music perform live in a very different way than your average family member does.
Yeah, absolutely, you do. And that's a bug and a pro. It's a good thing and a bad thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, and you got to make sure you dial into that. There's a cool quote from Rick Rubin, which kind of leans into this, and he had like this book that came out last year, and he said something that I had never thought of. And he's like, as soon as you show someone else like your art, your song, your perception of it changes. This, like, if you like wrote a song alone in your room and no one, you're the only human to have ever heard it. The second that you send that like MP3 to someone else, your perception of it will change. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my goodness, that's so true. If you can try and channel that, like if I write a song and then I send it to the band, there's going to be things in there that the second I hit send, I'm like, this line they're going to hear this line and not like it. You know what I mean? They might not even know that they don't like that line, but it's going to make them uncomfortable for some reason.
Because you're probably sending that song for the band to almost hear it and say, yes, you're right.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You want that like affirmation or confirmation that what you did was cool. And if you have like second thoughts about it, then that's probably a sign that maybe something isn't totally right. You know what I mean? But you also have to have enough confidence to be like, no, trust me, this is really good.
And then there's got to be an evolution of the band, and that then has to be explained to some people as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you cannot just write cold beer again.
No, that's the hardest thing is like, and I feel like that's maybe one of the most difficult things as an artist is when you first start writing and recording music, you are just doing the only thing you know how to do, right? You're just being yourself. And then you have a little bit of success and all of a sudden you like have to be like introspective about it, or you can be introspective and be like, what are we? How do we not just stay the same? And I feel like it did take us a few years to realize it's like, stop worrying about all that, man. It's like, just do the thing that you know how to do, the thing that feels honest to you, and don't try and like engineer this for somebody else or engineer it for like a specific demographic or fan group. Just write the thing that feels honest and true to you, the things that we know, the small town stuff, whatever. And if you write a really good version of that, people will relate to it.
And everyone has been to a small town, but they haven't experienced it maybe like the band is. So you kind of got to explain that in song as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Taylor has always said has a really cool quote because he didn't grow up in a small town. And he's like, sometimes you listen to these songs and even if you're not from a small town, they make you wish you were, you know what I mean? And I do feel like because we're four different guys from different backgrounds, you know, not everyone in the band is from a small town, but you're still from like a middle class, working class family and can still like relate to things on that level.
There's still a hustle. There's still family. There's still friendship.
And there's still heartbreak. There's still like fun with your buddies. There's still like, you know, the sad things and the happy things in life. Like that stuff is universal. Doesn't matter where in, you know, if you're from the country or the city or what country you're from.
So James Barker Band releases One of Us. Band goes out on tour, all kinds of dates all over the place. There's all kinds of CCMA nominations again and again and again. It just continues and that. Put all that aside. Because I know the band loves to go out and play on stage. Mm-hmm. Might be some people in the band who love to get into the studio just to record.
Yeah.
But what is the one thing about being on the road with James Barker Band that you guys, people wouldn't know that you really are good at or you liked? Like if somebody say, boy, sure would be nice to stop by that paintball place and go shoot each other.
Oh yeah, we do like to, like we are actually all like very competitive. And so when we're on the road, we try and lean into just the right amount of that, because also like if you get too competitive and then you have to go back and like be sleeping in a bunk beside that other person, you're going to have resentment over the course of, you know, a month or whatever. But we do like to go and try and like do like laser tag or like we've never done paintball because like even when we did laser tag the one time I ended up with a fat lip because we were going too hard. So we try and keep it stuff like
we're using real bullets.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, like that's where we'd get to. We're losing like the little like whatever they call those bean bullets or whatever.
And you've seen so much stuff on the road that has probably been incredibly eye-opening over the last 6-7 years. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you think helps write music? Do the songs kind of write themselves because of all these new experiences? Oh,
absolutely. I think that what it does, even more than like seeing things that like are new experiences, it gives you perspective on how you were raised and like what is really important and what stories are real. Do you know what I mean? Like if I was still living in Woodville and hadn't toured across the world, I would just think that the things that were happening in Woodville were only happening in Woodville. Do you know what I mean? The types of problems and the type of situations. But once you've been, you know, across the country, around the world, you realize that struggles are the same everywhere. Heartbreak is the same everywhere. Falling in love is the same everywhere. People falling on hard times are the same everywhere. That is a universal thing. That is not just something that happens. And it makes you realize that it's worth writing about.
With an album like One of Us, and like I said, you know, I'm half mocking, half can't believe it, you know, to have 150 songs and to pare it down when you have all this stuff, then you got to select someone to produce One of Us. Do you take the full slate of all your music in, or do you have your 12 cuts that you want to do? And then from there, it's like, okay, let's punch these up.
Yeah. I mean, we've used the same producer. We've used Todd Clark on all of the music we've ever released because He
Because of his accent.
because of his accent. That's exactly right. We needed a Kiwi in the mix. He's so good at it. He's such a creative guy. He's so good at what he does. And he's not even necessarily like a country guy or like country fan per se.
He's more hermit.
Yeah. Oh man. He literally like, there's weeks where he doesn't leave his house. It's crazy. Like he never leaves. But he gets JBB. You know what I mean? Like he understands what we are. He could probably describe it in like 2 sentences what it is. And when as we're picking songs and like as I'm writing them, I send them to Todd and I'm like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Or what do you think about this? And like get his feedback in real time. And he'll give it to me, but he's always down to like, if he's like, I don't know if this is this or there's something weird about this or blah, blah, blah. But if we decide we're going to cut it, he's like, okay, let's do it. You know what I mean? And let's find a way to make it feel like a James Barker Band song.
You have a new challenge now because you have all of these songs on a new album. How many of them get to go out on stage with you after for the last 4 years, 80% of the set list has been similar?
Yeah, it is hard. Like that was actually like one of the hardest parts about going out on this tour is us like sitting down on like a couple of different Zoom calls and being like, what songs are going to go on it? Because we have so many songs that have been singles and have been hits for us in Canada. And to go and be like, we're going to have to start cutting some of those songs to get these new ones on there. And it's a struggle. And honestly, like we learned the songs on the record and are like, let's play the first few shows. Cause the record's only been out for, a few days now. And, we're like, a song could take off, right? Or you might play it live and you realize like people are really reacting to that song. It feels amazing live. And so we've just kind of learned them and we're going to try some different variations of it and see how it goes. But it is a bummer. And, you realize if you go to see someone like George Strait has like 60 something number ones. And you're like, well, he can only play like a third of that. And so you just have to like, keep that in perspective. It's like, just build the show how it's going to be the best. Make sure you play the biggest hits and then just make the show feel good.
That's something I'm glad you brought up. You don't know how some of these songs are going to reach people, but it's awesome when you see it in the live, when you're on stage and, hey, this song is reacting. We didn't think it would. What is something that maybe you've released on One of Us that you didn't expect it to kind of give that pop on stage and all of a sudden, oh, we really figured out how to play it and the fans are liking it?
Yeah, I would say One of Us is probably that song. Cause that song, even though like it's a little more emotional, a little more serious, it's not like a super fast song. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not a banger. You know what I mean? It's not like a song where you're like, oh, it's ripping. And it took us a long time to figure out the right way to play that live. Like we tried a couple different variations and rehearsed that song for like a week and we're like, it just doesn't feel right. And it's just about nailing that thing. But then if you do, big part of it is setting it up. If a crowd's hearing a song for the first time, you need to lead the witness a little bit and like explain things and get them in the vibe. And that's what we figured with that song, is doing that. And now it hits amazingly.
I like it too that you say, yeah, we have to figure out how to play these songs, because people don't realize that as much as you wrote the song and you've been in the studio with the song, you then had to do 12 more songs right after that.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different rhythm for the band.
It's crazy how different it is. The things that work on a record don't work live all the time. You know what I mean? Because it's a different energy. And so
Did it take you a while to get used to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, damn it, this is my favorite song. How are we not reacting?
Absolutely. Like, and I would say like there was a real switch in the other way that I feel like most musicians have to go through because we started as a bar band. And when you're a bar band, you're mostly doing covers and you're not probably even learning them the way that they're played on the record. You're just like kind of half-assing it or whatever. And when the way you play something in the studio was very different than how you do it live. And so you have to be able to do that thing back and forth because you're like filling out more space with less instruments. And it's just like, it's a unique thing. And also like, you have to figure out what part's going to be up front, what's going to be in the back. Are you going to strip it down at a part? Are you going to build it up at a certain part? Because you're trying to keep people engaged and make sure that if they're hearing a song for the first time and they can't hear the lyrics because the drums are too loud in a part, well, then it's not going to react. Maybe once the song's a hit, then you can do it because they already know it. It's just like it's little nuances. And they
can help you out with the song.
Yes, exactly.
The chorus that hits with the audience, it's like, good, I can take a break off singing because now the audience is singing for us.
Absolutely. And like those are all things you take into consideration when you're building a set. It's like get one of those songs that the people know and it's like a tempo, a hype song up early because it'll do a lot of the heavy lifting and break that barrier of people because people are always uncomfortable in the first song or two. The crowd is, you know what I mean? Especially when you go like country crowds, a lot of these people are like middle class, small town people who might be in a room. They're like neighbors are there or they're buddies. And like they've got a little bit of like, well, I don't want to seem like I'm having like too much fun here. I don't want to look like a loser or whatever. And you need to do whatever you can in that first song or two to break down that barrier. And like, you have to expose yourself and be vulnerable in order to pull that out of people.
Plus, the first song too is a warm-up song for the band.
Well, if there's tech issues too, it's like you got to make sure it's like if there's weird monitor mixes and stuff, it's like you have to be prepared to maybe not hear yourself or there to be tech issues or something, be something you're so comfortable with that if there's a tech issue, it's not going to derail the whole performance.
What was a tech issue that James Barker Band has had on stage where you're like, how the hell did that happen?
Oh man. You get used to, especially in festivals, because a lot of them are like quick changeovers, throw and goes.
5-10 minutes for a changeover.
Literally, like we had one this summer where it was Country Thunder, or maybe it was Big Valley Jamboree, like Country Thunder, Edmonton or whatever, in Camrose. And we went to do our changeover and I think it was a half an hour. And so we're like, okay, no sound check. You know what I mean? And so it's like, we've got, our crew is dialed in. Like we've got an awesome crew. And so they're like, downbeat was the people before us finished and they've got half an hour to get their stuff off and get our stuff on there. And then the Snowbirds were doing like a flyover thing, like a really sick, performance thing. But we didn't realize that meant they got access to the soundboard because they have like the, started back in 1956, blah, blah, blah. And so we literally...
so they have a pre-roll tape that is playing on the monitors or the speakers for the people in the crowd.
Exactly. And so because of that, you're not allowed to... Our guys couldn't touch the board to do any of the mixes or like make sure our ears were there. So we get up for the first song and it's like nothing in our ears. You have nothing at all. And so it was like the first, and I'm singing, and when I'm not singing, I'm talking to the crowd. So I'm looking at Taylor being like vocal up, like trying not to make it obvious. And so it's not until like the third song you can really actually hear yourself or everybody else that's on stage. But the difference is like the difference between like what you would say is like an amateur and a pro musician is amateurs can play really well when the situation is perfect. Pros can play really well when the situation is terrible. And like, to use a hockey analogy, I forget who said this, but they said there's no such thing as a bad pass in the NHL. You find a way to make a play off a bad pass. When somebody does a bad pass, you find a way to make it work. And it's the same in music.
Yeah, it's make it look like nothing happened.
That's exactly it. Nobody in the crowd should know that there was a tech issue. Aside from like my mic not being heard out front, they should never be able to tell.
They don't care. One.
Yeah.
They've paid money to be there, so it better be good. So you better not slough it off.
Honestly, and there's like something about like if there is an issue like that where there's a major tech issue, it's your job as a performer and entertainer to then go like dig deep and go 10% over that to try and mask if there's an issue to make sure those people are having an amazing time. It's like, and then also not let that get into your head. It's like, not to keep using sports, but it's like golf. If you like really mess up a shot, you can't be carrying that to the next hole, right? You can't let the one bad hole ruin your whole round.
Not good to throw a fit probably in any occasion as an adult.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly. Don't throw a temper tantrum. Because even if it's warranted or something, people are just going to look at you and be like, oh, what a hot-headed loser.
What's wrong with this guy?
Yeah, exactly. Get over it, buddy.
Get a different parking spot. I'm going to Costco through this door.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, that you kind of learn those little things after doing it for a little while.
Back to the snowbird thing. Did you know in advance that they weren't going to be able to do any check? Or was this something that you got told as you're basically walking on stage with your gear?
As we're walking on, we had no idea because we had been told they're going to do the flyover, which I thought was sick. Like being like an aviation guy myself, I'm like, this is so dope. And then our tour manager was like, turns out we can't have access to the board until they're done. And they're not going to be done until like 2 minutes before we walk on. And so you almost don't even have a second to like panic.
I know a bunch of bands who would not do well in that situation.
Yeah.
There would definitely be that panic / whatever.
Yeah. And it's almost like as the dude in the front, even if I'm like having a little panic attack inside, you can't show it, right? You've got to like, because if you expose that little crack that you're nervous, it's going to like compound when it gets to the next person, the next guy in the crew or the musician or whatever. So as long as you're like, no, we got it, we'll be cool, then people have the confidence and they persevere. But if you like show anyone like a little bit of panic, they're going to panic and then they're not going to be thinking clearly to like resolve the issue.
It's difficult too because you're at a festival stage and those times are really hard times at festivals. They don't want you going 1 minute over at a festival because it impacts the rest of the day. And if it was your own show though, you're playing whatever, the theater, wherever it is, you can at least jam out that for a song for 6 more minutes till you figure out you're in here.
Yeah, and you just run a little longer. It is what it is. But on a festival, yeah, like they're in your ear, like, and we try to be pretty dialed on it because you cannot run over. Like they'll literally just cut it, right? And so you're like already, doing the math. They're in your, like, you got 3 minutes left or whatever. And you're like, okay, dude, you got to set up your set in such a way that you're like, can cut the right song. Because generally, save your best song for the end. And so you can't just cut the last song. So you've got to know at least a couple songs in advance. It's like there's some mental math has to happen there.
Tell me about Nashville and the James Barker Band. Is Nashville an easy place for your James Barker Band to chill, write, hang? Or has Nashville become such a business for James Barker Band that's like, damn it, I don't even look forward to being part of it at this time or whatever?
Oh, I feel like I could see how people could get like jaded and annoyed by the Nashville thing. But for me, it has like never been anything but like a breath of fresh air. Like living down there every time. I don't know if it's just got like all these positive memories or I just like love music so much. But every time I drive down Music Row, it fires me up. And every time I will do a thing where once a month, because I don't really go down to Broadway to like drink and party because it's just too chaotic down there. But the live music is second to none. And like once a month, I will do a drive-by down Broadway with my windows open just because there's like this level of excitement.
There's an energy.
There's an energy, man. When you're driving there and you just like can hear like the snare drum coming from one direction and then like a guitar from another. And like you hear that and you're like, there's hundreds of guys down here doing this thing who are as passionate about music as I am. It's a magic that there is in Nashville to that. And it's the same with writing. It's like going to writers' rounds to see the thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's really easy for people in Nashville, musicians, to get discouraged. And you got to shake that thing and be like, don't get discouraged, get inspired by it.
What do you think it's discouraging? I don't understand.
I just feel like because there's so much talent, it was easy. I think a lot of people, the first time they go to Nashville, are discouraged by how good other people are. You're either discouraged or inspired, and you got to find a way to look at it in a positive way, as opposed to being like, these people are so good, I'll never be this good, I quit. You have to look at it and be like, these people are so good, and I want to be as good as these people, and I want to learn from these people and be one of these people.
Is James Barker and anybody else in the band, are you good at that networking and that sticking out your hand going, hello, my name is?
Yeah, I feel like we all have different situations where we're good at that. Like, I'm good at that in a writing room, because you do, like, Nashville can be like speed dating for writing. When you have a publisher, right, you're going to be thrown into a room with two people you've never met, and they've probably never met each other, like a cold room. And you have to find a way to like get past the highs, hellos, who are you, in the first like 20 minutes so you can get on to writing a song. And I feel like because I've been doing it for so long, I'm pretty good at that, like making those connections and getting into it and being able to like get a good song out of that room. Whereas like in a bar, I might not be that guy, but Connor is one of those dudes who like will be sitting at a bar, and next thing you know, like he's like best friends with the dude who's sitting next to him. It turns out who is like the guitar player for Luke Bryan. And next thing you know, you're going to a party at his house the next day, and he's really good at that. And Bobby is that guy too, where he was like, oh yeah, like my guy at the like apartment complex I went to is like this person, and now like we're best buddies, and now we're going golfing and stuff. We're all pretty good at like the networking thing in our different ways.
And you learn so much from it right away.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to learn to just like do that. Nashville's easy because everybody's kind of not from there. And so everybody's in this
transients.
Yeah, all transients. And so it's not like you're like an outsider. We're all outsiders. So everybody's kind of doing the same thing.
Right. So you end up, your family may not be there. Your sisters and brothers and aunts and uncles. So you end up becoming family with all these transient songwriters and performers and crew, where Thanksgiving dinner down there is completely different than back home. Yeah,
absolutely. You build your own community down there. It's kind of like, a perk of the fact that everybody is transient, is that everybody's looking for their little crew. And like you said, like you have we have our American Thanksgiving with a bunch of people that aren't actually our family, because it's like your crew down there.
What is James Barker Band and James Barker probably much better at today than, say, 7 years ago?
Oh man, conflict resolution. I would say like
that is a great answer right off the top.
Yeah,
I love it.
I feel like being in a band, specifically being four dudes, we would not be together if we didn't know how to work through disagreements. You know what I mean? Because that's got to be what rips most bands apart, is not being able to talk through problems and just letting stuff build and build and build. And we still do have times where that happens, especially when you're really busy and you don't have the time to like get into a deep conversation. But just learning like when another band member is doing something that's making you angry or rubbing you the wrong way, or you don't think was best for the show or the business, bring it up, call them out. You know what I mean? It's got to be, it's like a brotherly thing. You can't let people get away with BS, and you know you're not going to get away with BS.
Because it's grinding both parties.
Yes.
Like the guy who was upset, who created the BS, is now upsetting the rest of the parties. And you're right, it's turning into a snowstorm that doesn't need to be. You can just let it go. Yeah,
exactly. And it's like probably like a microcosm of all relationships in the world, where like if somebody does something that annoys you and you don't say anything, you're going to do something in response to that, whether it's conscious or subconscious, and that's going to rub them the wrong way, but they don't even know that they rubbed you the wrong way in the first place. And it's going to go back and compound. And then next thing you know, you're angry at each other for things that you can't even explain. You're fighting and you don't even know why you're fighting.
I was just talking with a guy about this who said the same thing. Like the band was breaking up, and he looks back at it with 10 years of experience, looks at it retrospectively and goes, it was so stupid. We were fighting over the wrong things, and it festered, and it didn't need to get that. And now the band is going to get back together. They're going to go do this big anniversary tour and all that stuff. But it took those simple conversations of, I remember that time when we were at the Husky station and you ordered the Denver omelet and I said, no, get the Denver sandwich.
Dude, it is crazy. This is one thing people won't understand about a band. And maybe this is just us, but you don't fight about the big things. You fight about the little things because your goals for the most part are aligned. You want, like, we all love the music we release, and we almost always agree on the music. And because we can agree that we want to make really good country music that we like. And we always agree on like, there's, for the most part, you get to a point where you agree on what the set list is going to be, and you agree on what the album art's going to be. You know, like the real big things of big purchases, of bus rentals, all that stuff. You know what I mean? But it's the little things that are not even important that you waste. Like the biggest fight we've ever had as a band is over a burrito, dude. And I'm not even kidding. Like another band member ate a burrito that was supposed to be for a promoter. We were in like Munich or something. And like, it was a screaming match that almost evolved into a fist fight. It was the biggest fight we've ever had was over a freaking burrito, dude. It's like, that's the kind of stuff that we fight over though. It's stuff like that.
Well, because you're so worldly, you can get Mexican burritos in Germany.
Yeah, true. That's maybe the whole thing. Why we should have been eating schnitzel or something. That's the whole root of the issue.
You have been nominated for every single CCMA, and yet you have to go up and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Who are you missing on your list each and every time where you go, damn it. Why do we always forget that person? Like, why do we always forget Leake?
Yeah, true. Why do we always forget Leake? It's so hard. Like the thank yous, because one, it feels like egotistical to write a speech to me before you've won. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, it seems like the jinxing it or something if you do it. So you never really want to like write a speech. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe other people would see that differently, but the problem is it's kind of like inviting people to a wedding where it's like, well, if I invite this cousin, then I have to invite that cousin because they'll be offended. If I invite that cousin in, then I have to invite their kids. Then I have to invite the other nephew's family or whatever. And the speeches are kind of like that. So it's almost like you have to start with, significant others, parents, and then go down your list of like the people who have worked on the project and eventually just know that there's going to be somebody who's not on there.
The promoter from Munich, Germany.
Yeah, exactly.
Finally gets his due.
Finally gets his due. That's it. If we get it this year, I'm going to make sure I give him a shout out.
Well, thanks for doing this, man. I really do appreciate you taking time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It was a great talk.
Follow Music Row on X at Music Row Country. On Instagram at Music Row Official. Music Row is produced by Shed of Dreams.